Part 3, Boris and Doris's trial and execution.
Hello everyone. Welcome to TNA News. We interrupt this program with some breaking news. This just in. Two of the most biggest child abusers from Rosemary channel, his counterparts, Boris and Doris, have just been arrested for abusing their own daughter, Rosie. A trial will be held later on today to decide on whether they are found guilty or not. But until then, we now return you to our regularly scheduled program. This is Anchorman Oliver Jatid, signing off.
Later on, at the courthouse.
All rise for the Honorable Judge Boris.
Wait a minute, this judge has the same first name as me?
Silence. Order in the court. Order in the court. All right. Court is now in session. Boris and Doris from Ozanvan B's universe, you two have been arrested for certain charges that were pressed against you. Prosecutor Sally Thompson, read the charges.
Boris and Doris from Ozanvan B's universe, you two have been arrested for child abuse, aggravated assault, inappropriate content exposure to children, and overly strict and dangerous punishment giving. How do you plead?
Not guilty, Your Honor. We were just disciplining our daughter for causing trouble, and the punishments we gave her ain't dangerous or inappropriate.
I agree with Boris. Not guilty.
Well, that's not what I've heard from the charges that were pressed against you. So I call up on my first witness, Mario.
Ozanvan B's versions of Boris and Doris are probably the worst versions of Boris and Doris I have ever seen. They've been giving their daughter Rosie a lot of disturbing, gross, and unnecessary punishments and traumatized her all her life. Therefore, I say they are guilty.
Thank you, Mario. I call upon my next witness, Luigi.
I agree with my brother. I find these child abusing scumbags to be guilty as charged.
Thank you, Luigi. I call upon my next witness, Princess Peach.
I agree with Mario and Luigi. I say these motherfuckers are guilty as charged.
Thank you, Princess Peach. I call upon my next witness, Anna Mongola.
Ozanvan B's versions of Boris and Doris remind me a bit of when I was abused by my uncle. But my uncle is way worse because he sexually assaulted me when I was 13. Nevertheless, I say these child abusers are guilty as charged.
Oh, the horror. I'm so sorry this happened to you. I think I will have to call up Sarah Mongola to the stand.
I agree with my sister. I find these motherfuckers to be guilty as charged. They are as bad as my uncle.
Thank you, Sarah. I call upon my next witness, Messi Mongola.
I agree with my two older cousins. I say these bitches are guilty as charged, and they are as bad as my former father.
Thank you, Messi. I call upon my next witness, Lelsi Mongola.
I totally agree with my twin brother. These child-abusing bastards are as bad as my former father, so I say they are guilty as charged.
Thank you, Lelsi. I call upon my next witness, Sabrina Cowdloff.
It's one thing that my husband gave one of my daughters, Mika in particular, a concussion, but what Boris and Doris from Ozanvan B's channel did to their own daughter was way worse. They gave her a lot of disturbing, disgusting, and inappropriate punishments for little to no reason at all. Therefore, I say they are guilty.
Thank you, Sabrina. I call upon my next witness, Tyson Cowdloff.
I agree with my mom. I say these child-abusing fuckers are guilty as charged. They are way worse than my father.
Thank you, Tyson. I call upon my next witness, Dr. Olivia Cowdloff.
I agree with my brother. It's bad enough that our dad gave one of my younger sisters Mika a concussion, but what these two over there did was no better. So I say they are guilty as charged.
Thank you, Olivia. I call upon my next witnesses, Harry and Jeanette Cowdloff.
These two are testifying against us at the same time?
That's right, Boris and Doris. And what you both did to your own daughter was traumatizing, disgusting, disturbing, and inappropriate. You two are even worse than our dad.
I agree with my twin brother. Our dad may be abusive, but he would never go as far as doing what you both did. So we say that you two are guilty.
Thank you, kids. I call upon my next witness, Mustale Nilab.
It's one thing for my wife, Katrina, to abuse our kids, but what Boris and Doris from Ozenvin B's channel did to their own daughter was way worse. Therefore, I say they are guilty.
Thank you, Mustale. I call upon my next witness, Milo and Elob.
I agree with my dad. It's bad enough that my mom disabled my car and tried to kill me when I threatened to tell dad on her, but what these two did to their own daughter was way worse. Therefore, I say they're guilty.
Thank you, Milo. I call upon my next witness, Caitlin and Elob.
I agree with my brother. What these two psychopaths did to their own daughter is way worse than what our crazy mother could ever do to us. Therefore, I say they are guilty.
Thank you, Caitlin. I call upon my next witness, Stephanie and Elob.
I agree with my sister. These child abusers are guilty as charged. They are way worse than my mom.
Thank you, Stephanie. I call upon my next witness, Joey Anderson.
Look, Boris and Doris, I know what it's like to have a troublemaking kid. My son Bobby has been causing a lot of trouble since last year, but that doesn't mean I abuse him. I just simply ground him, and one day, me and my wife will dive deep down in the cause of his behavior. But you two just ruined her life without even getting her some help like any parent would do their children if they misbehave a lot. Therefore, I say you two are guilty.
Thank you, Joey. I call upon my next witness, Brianna Anderson.
I 100% agree with my husband. These two motherfuckers should be found guilty as charged. They never disciplined their daughter properly.
At least we're not as soft as you are. You don't know anything about discipline, you're just too lenient on your son.
Oh, I'll show you soft, you stupid child abusers.
Silence. Order in the court. Order in the court. That's enough fighting. Boris and Doris, you do not call the witnesses soft like that ever again and speak without given permission to do so.
Fine.
Anyways, I call upon my next witnesses, Tanya and Mania Generic.
Look, Boris and Doris, me and Tanya know what it feels like to have a troublemaking family member. Our adoptive sister Yellow Generic has been causing trouble since July 2023, but we would never abuse her in any way. We've only been grounding her for causing trouble. Yeah! But you guys have just been making your own daughter's life a living hell without even giving her some help. So because of everything you've done to Rosie, we say you two are guilty as charged.
Thank you, Tanya and Mania. I call upon my next witness, Cole Marquez.
Look, Boris and Doris, me, Elena, Abuela, and Dora know what it's like to have a troublemaking Nina. Dora's evil clone has been causing a lot of trouble since 2022, but we would never abuse her. We've only been grounding her whenever she causes trouble. But you guys have just been making your own Nina's life a pesadilla. Therefore, I say you two are culpable.
Thank you, Cole. I call upon my next witness, Elena Marquez.
I totally agree with me, Emma. I say these two psychopaths are culpable as charged.
Thank you, Elena. I call upon my next witness, Abuela Marquez.
I totally agree with me, Juan Minuera. Y say these dos hijos de puta are guilty as charged.
Thank you, Abuela. I call upon my next witness, Dora Marquez.
I totally agree with me, Abuela. I say these two bitches are culpable as charged.
Thank you, Dora. I call upon my next witness, Alex the Autistic Teen 2K8.
Boris and Doris from Ozenvenby's channel are probably one of the worst versions of Boris and Doris I have ever seen. They've been abusing their own daughter Rosie for little to no reason. For example, they once gave her a belt beating oil because she watched Thomas and Friends. Therefore, I say they are guilty.
Objection, Your Honor. Thomas and Friends has always been hated by me and Doris. When we saw her watching it, it really pissed us the fuck off.
Well, your objection is overruled because while I understand you and Doris's deep hatred against Thomas and Friends, that's no reason to give Rosie a belt beating. You hating it doesn't mean Rosie should hate it too. Everyone has its own opinion. But anyways, I call upon my next witness, Ozanvan B.
Our own creator is testifying against us?
That's right. Your Honor, My versions of Boris and Doris are the worst child abusers I have ever created in my channel. They gave their daughter Rosie a lot of brutal punishment days for little to no reason at all and made her life a living nightmare. Therefore, I say these child abusing motherfuckers are guilty as charged.
Thank you, Azanvin. I call upon my next two witnesses, Super Patrick Thepik Teen Boy 2K10 and Patricia.
Ozanvin B's versions of Boris and Doris are probably one of the worst versions of Boris and Doris I have ever seen. They've gave their own daughter a lot of disgusting and disturbing punishments and have made her life a living hell.
And all the punishments they gave her traumatized her so much to the point where she became mentally scarred. Therefore, we say they are guilty as charged.
Thank you, Super Patrick Thepik Teen Boy 2K10 and Patricia. And by the way, Boris and Doris, my next two witnesses are people who would like to have a word with you too.
Uh-oh.
Boris and Doris, you sick fucking monsters. I cannot fucking believe you two had the damn nerve to give your own daughter a lot of extremely brutal, violent, inappropriate, and traumatizing punishments. Do you both have any fucking idea of how miserable you two have made her life? I guess you didn't, since you both don't seem to care how much Rosie has suffered. Especially you, Boris. We have never fucking raised you to become a child abuser. You're fucking sick in the head.
That is so fucking it. We are fucking pleading you guilty of all charges, and as of today, we will be cutting full ties with the two of you definitely, and permanently.
That's all we've got to say about you two. Have fun spending the rest of your lives in jail, or maybe during your execution.
Did you both get out everything that needed to be said to the defendants?
Yeah.
Then I call up the main victim of the crime, Rosie Anderson.
Rosie, don't you dare testify against us. If you do, you will be grounded for life.
Sorry, Mom and Dad, but you leave me no choice, Your Honor. My parents are probably the worst parents I could ever ask for. They've been giving me a lot of punishment days for little to no reason at all. They forced me to watch inappropriate and disgusting videos, forced me to put my hand inside a wasp's nest, forced me to do the one-chip challenge, gave me a belt beating, all because I watched Thomas and Friends and threatened to give it to me again when I watched it again, and even worse, they forced me to shove a flag through my bum. It was so disturbing, and now I'm emotionally and mentally scarred because of them. You
little brownie snitch.
You two will not lay one single finger on your daughter, you sick monsters. Poor Rosie, poor you. I can't believe your own parents would ever do this to you. And as for you two, Boris and Doris, based on today's testimony, I hereby find you two guilty. And due to how serious the crimes against your own daughter are, I sentence you two to execution by the electric chairs. Guards, take them away.
Alright, Boris and Doris, any last words before I press the switch?
Rosie should be the one to get executed, not us. This is so unfair.
Too bad. You both brought this on yourselves. And I'm pressing the switch now. Goodbye forever, child abusing scumbags.
Good riddance, abusive parents of mine.
The end.